Hello everyone, this is Adnan and welcome to Chemistry with Adnan. On this YouTube channel, I'm covering the entire syllabus of IGCSE Cambridge Chemistry. The course code is 0620, and in this lesson we will be covering 6.1, chapter 6, first topic, physical and chemical changes. So what are physical changes? Physical changes is a change in which no new substance is formed. That is one most fundamental characteristic of a physical change, that in a physical change no new substances are produced. So remember this. And what can be changed? The state of a substance can be changed, shape can be changed, size, appearance, position. So for example, like, if you are melting ice, so that's a physical change in which a state can change. Shape, for example, you have a tomato and you are cutting it into thin slices, so you are changing its shape, but that's not a chemical reaction. Size, again, like let's say if you have a huge piece of marble, and a sculptor is cutting it into thin pieces to make a statue. So you change this, like, size of a substance, right? Appearance may change. So this is a bit controversial. uh, Color change, this appearance, it doesn't mean uh, you know uh, a color change, because color change is usually associated with a chemical change. So there are few examples where in a physical change a color change may be produced. For example, if you have something opaque or translucent, right? So if, like, let's say if you have a crystal, and the bigger the crystal, the darker may be the color. But when you cut it into tiny pieces, or when you crush it, so it may not retain that color, or the hue may be a little different, right? But so yeah, appearance. So position, yeah, so if you are changing its position from one place to another, so that is again a physical change, right? So for example, if you have a piece of wood somewhere, and if you pick it up and you place it on the other side, so that's a change in a position. So that is also a physical change. So uh, in a physical change, chemical composition remains the same, right? So key point, in a physical change, the particles are still in same particles. The particles are still the same particles before and after the change. So examples, so water, so if it's in the form of ice, that is still H2O, and when it is melted, when it melts, it is also H2O. So this is a physical change because both ice and water are still H2O. So the next one is examples of physical changes. So state changes of state, like melting, freezing, boiling, evaporation, condensation. Condensation is changing from gas to liquid, and sublimation is changing state change from solid to gas, while skipping the liquid phase. So example, water boiling, when this is an example of a physical change where a liquid water changes into a gaseous like state, steam. So no new substance is formed during this process, and it is still water, and we have the same atoms and the same composition and everything. So on the contrary, what is a chemical change? Chemical change is a change in which new substances are formed, and the atoms, the bonds are broken, and they are a new bonds are created, right? And new substances are called products, and the starting substances are called reactants. So we have already discussed this, that how to write a chemical equation. So you have reactants on the left side, and then you have this arrow that tells us the direction of the reaction, and then you have products. So in a chemical change, the products have a different chemical composition from the reactants, right? So let's take a look at these examples. So for example, burning wood. So when you burn wood, the ashes, and it turns into ashes. So those ashes, they cannot be changed back into a wood, right? So Another property of chemical changes is that chemical changes are very difficult to reverse, right? So in some cases they cannot be reversed at all, and in like at other times, they may be able to, they may be reverted, but with very difficulty. Like it will be very difficult. So rusting of iron, yeah. So when iron rusts, it changes into a new product, right? Iron oxide. So and it is not the same as iron anymore. So it will have different chemical properties and stuff. Cooking an egg, so yeah, if you fry an egg or if you boil it, so there's no way you can change it back to that gooey, translucent fluid like structure, right? So digestion of food, yeah, once the food that you eat, it is digested, there's no way you can change it back into its initial state. So neutralization, acid-base reactions mostly. So that is also a chemical change where salt and water is produced, and acid and base, they lose their properties. So thermal decomposition, when a compound is broken into different products. So a single compound, when it is broken into different products, that is called thermal decomposition in the presence of heat. So that is also a chemical change, and you know yeah, and like reactants, they change into products, new products are created. So reaction between acids and metals, yeah, hydrogen gas is produced, and the acid and metal, they get changed into different substances. So for example, magnesium burning, so when you burn magnesium in the presence of oxygen, it changes into magnesium oxide. So you see, like this product, it is very different from magnesium and oxygen, right? So a new substance, magnesium oxide, is formed. And a signs of chemical change. So in IGCSE Cambridge Chemistry, the questions based on these observable changes, they may give you a question, and they may ask you whether it's a physical change or a chemical change based on the observation. So in a chemical change, there will be a color change. There may be a gas produced after the reaction, or after mixing two things together and stuff. So the temperature, there may be a temperature change. The temperature may increase or decrease, right? And light may be produced. For example, like there may be some sparks when you, let's say, for example, if you throw a highly reactive element from group 1, like potassium, for example, if you throw it into acid, or like, don't do this in the lab. I'm just giving you these examples. It can be dangerous, and you'll see that sparks will be produced, right? So your teacher will perform, may demonstrate some of these reactions where light is produced in chemical reactions. So precipitate formed when you mix two solutions, and like those two solutions, they are clear and there is no undissolved substance in these solutions. But when you mix them together, so the mixture may contain some precipitate which was not there before in the solutions. But when you mix them, something insoluble is produced, and it settles at the bottom. That is called precipitate, right? So that is also an indication of chemical change, that this precipitate was not there before and it just got created, and which means that this is something new. So a smell may be produced. For example, like certain gases, when they are produced in chemical reactions, they have a very strong smell. So yeah. So now, important point, these signs suggest a chemical change, chemical reaction, but the strongest evidence is the formation of a new substance. Yes. So the main characteristic that distinguishes a chemical change from a physical change is that in a chemical change, new substances are formed, and in a physical change, no new substance is formed, right? And that is the most fundamental difference between these. So okay, now let us summarize this lesson by comparing these. So physical change, no new substances formed. Chemical change, new substances formed. And physical change is usually reversible, and chemical change is usually difficult to reverse. Chemical composition stays the same in a physical change, and in a chemical change, chemical composition changes. Yeah? New things are created. So usually small energy change, in a physical change, there is a small energy change, but in a chemical change, often a large energy change is involved. And examples again, melting, freezing, boiling for physical change, and burning, resting, and cooking are some of the very basic examples of a chemical change. So this will be all for today. If you need one-on-one tutoring lessons, you can join my community with the name of High School Community on school.com. The link is given in the description. And for one-on-one lessons, you can also contact me on the Google form. You can fill it out, and I will contact you. So this will be all for today, and I'll see you in the next lesson with 6.2. Take care. Have a good day.